is the Revisionary Podcast with your host, Juan Carlos. The Revisionary Podcast.
Hello, Revisionaries, and welcome to another episode of the Revisionary Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Juan Carlos. So, before we jump in, I want to say thank you for those of you guys who started following us on social media. I'm seeing that you guys are starting to respond to some of the things that I'm saying. And I just want to let this be another reminder that April 10th, we do have that live show. It will be at noon Eastern on the Bullhorn app. So please make sure that you tune in. Like I said, if you want to see who the special guest is, go check out our social media. The information is readily available. And I want to continuously thank all of you who support us week in and week out. If this is your first time listening, the way this works is we bring on guests, usually comedians, who tell a nonfiction story about their lives in which they wish things had gone a little bit differently. Afterwards, I give them an opportunity to tell the same exact story, except this time they can change any facts or details that they'd like about the story. So, in addition to that, this has been a fun week for me. So, just a little bit about me. I've been following along with the NCAA tournament, and it's been wild. I must say, I am surprised by some of the bracket busters already. I did not see Ohio State losing so early, or Illinois. What? The Fighting Illini? I thought they were going to go way deeper than they did. So that was pretty surprising. And as I'm sure some of you guys already know, yeah, I'm from New York originally, but I'm out in the state of Washington now. And things are opening up here, which is really good. It's really exciting. Comedy is starting to come up. You know, as people are getting vaccinated, things seem to be opening up. So hopefully that trend continues, because I'm excited to experience the state of Washington in all its full glory. Also, if you've never been to the state of Washington, highly recommended. I will say I've lived in New York. I'm from New York, so I don't know if that counts, but I've lived in New York. I've lived in Florida, and now I've lived in Washington. And I think that Washington might be one of the most aesthetically beautiful places I've ever seen. I've never lived in a state where you can see the mountains and then go down by the water all in one day. That is wild to me. The fact that people can go snowboarding and go to the beach. I've been told that in Washington, you can actually go snowboarding and go into the beach all in the same day, which is mind blowing. And just honestly, just driving around the state of Washington, whenever you peek around some of Seattle and then all of a sudden Mount Rainier appears, you're just like, what is going on? It's mind blown. Such a beautiful place. So that's just a little bit about what's going on in my life. Also, today's a really cool day, because today, Wednesday, March 24th, it's actually my little brother Joseph's birthday. So I want to wish him a very happy birthday. You know, I'm very proud of you and everything that you've accomplished. And I can't wait for you to graduate from college this May. You know, we finally did it. It's so great. Go Cornell, go Big Red. Woot woot. Let's do this. This week, we have Karmen Naidoo joining us. I'm really excited because I've actually never met her before, but I've heard so much about her. Karmen is a comedian who's originally from South Africa, so that should be fun. What makes me most excited about her is that, I've heard of some of her accomplishments, and she's really, really smart from my understanding, so I just can't wait to get a chance to chat with her and see what she's really like. So you know what? I won't dilly-dally. Let's go ahead and get the show on the road. Without further ado, let's give Karmen a call. Hey, Karmen, how are you?
Hi, Juan Carlos. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing so well. Thank you for coming on the Revisionary Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So what have you been up to?
Nothing much, trying to survive this pandemic.
Yeah.
Living life, waiting for the apocalypse to rise up. The zombies are coming next. So
are you one of these, what do they call death preparers? Or no, that's not the word.
Preppers.
Yeah, those guys. What are they called?
No. I don't have the money nor the enough anxiety for that. I give out my anxiety very sparingly, and this is not one of the situations.
So I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So you're telling me that part of the reason why you're not a doomsday prepper is because you can't afford it, right? So poor people have to die even in doomsday scenarios. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, I'm just if it's your time to go, it's your time to go. What can I do? I cannot come between you and God's vision. You know what I mean? That's God's plan for you.
I mean, Yeah, I guess that's true. So, so why don't you tell us a little bit about you and your background?
So I'm originally from South Africa, and actually won a green card through the green card lottery program, and then which I didn't even apply for. My mom applied on my behalf, and then I got the email, and I thought it was a Nigerian scam. I ended up just taking a chance, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to see what America's about, and now I'm here in America.
How long have you been here?
5 years. And I'm scared because I've been here for 5 years, the worst 5 years, as
Sure.
you all know. And now there's an apocalypse that may happen, like a zombie apocalypse. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, like movies always start in New York City, and that's where I'm like.
So you seem really concerned with this apocalypse. I gotta ask, in this apocalypse scenario, are you the zombie doing the biting, or are you the human getting bit?
I feel like I'm that odd immigrant person that's like the comical relief in the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? I could totally get that. So for background, so you're originally from South Africa. You've been here 5 years. How'd you get into comedy?
I started comedy in South Africa. Actually, I used to party a lot, like most of us do when we're younger. I partied a lot, and people would just invite me to their parties to tell jokes. Like they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're so hilarious! Come to my party and tell these stories." But I didn't know stand up as a thing. I was just like, "Oh, cool! I'll come to your party, free food and booze." Like, okay,
yeah.
And then I started doing stand-up comedy in South Africa.
How does the system work in South Africa? Is it the same as in New York?
New York is cutthroat. You know what I mean? Like New York is like, I don't know what New York, I can't, New York is intense. No, South Africa is not that intense. Like when I started it, I think I've been doing comedy almost 10 years now. Maybe less than that, like 8 years, I think it is. But when I started, it wasn't really like Trevor Noah wasn't as famous then. Like he was just coming up at that time.
Right.
So it was a little bit different and easier to break through because people didn't really know what stand-up was. They were like, oh, a talk? A TED talk? A presentation? I have to pay to hear you talk?
Yeah.
Why don't you just come home, have tea and talk to me? So it was like that kind of vibe, Right.
No, I get that. So let me ask you this then. I don't know where in South Africa you're from. I don't know where in South Africa Trevor's from. So I'm sure you get this question all the time. So let's just squash this right now. Okay. You guys know each other coming up through the comedy scene in South Africa?
No, I started comedy after Trevor. Like I started comedy just before Trevor Noah was on the precipice of worldwide fame.
Got it.
But I know people that know him. I've met him a few times before he was famous.
Yeah.
Like when he was doing open mics and stuff. But I didn't know him personally. We're from two different cities.
Got it. Because as far as I was concerned, South Africa was like a 30-minute walk from one side to the other. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people think that. Like, we're pretty big, guys. Like,
what U.S. state would you say is about the same size?
State. I don't know. I don't really know your U.S. states, and I feel like I should, in case I write the citizenship test, I should know like New York is like 10,000 square feet or something like that, right?
You know what's funny? You not knowing geography might be the most American thing you've said so far today. just want you to know.
No, but I know countries, I know flags, I know capital cities,
yeah.
I know states. I just don't know land area sizes. Like you're asking me very specific. Like I'm not a town planner. You know what I mean?
Look, I get that, and I'm like half teasing you, but like the fact that you know the most U.S. states and like countries and capitals is very un-American. I want you to know that. Like Americans, we don't do geography at all.
I mean, you don't. I mean, a lot of people, when I move here, they're like, oh, where you from? And I'm like, South Africa. And they're like, what country? I'm like, South Africa? That's a country? They're like, but yeah, like, is that next to Kenya? I got a friend from Angola. Do you know him? And I'm like, no, it's like 2 countries away from me. Like, we're not even bordering countries. Like, I don't. why are you taking me to a West African food place? Like,
be fair. Okay, look, I will say this. Like, at risk of looking stupid, I'll admit that is a little confusing. Like, if you tell me you're from South Africa, yes, I assume the country. But when people say West Africa or East Africa, it is also very understandable why someone would hear South Africa and think you meant the southern part of the continent.
Yeah, then you say Southern Africa, right? I'm not saying South Africa. I'm saying Southern.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point.
I mean, I reiterate and say Republic of South Africa, and it still confuses them. Then I have to bring out Mandela. I have to bring out AIDS. I have to bring out apartheid. I was like, guys, you just want me to bring out all our struggles so you can identify to the country.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, for me, all you had to say was the Springboks, and I was like, I know the Springboks. I'm
amazed that you know the Springboks. Like,
really?
Like, I'm actually impressed. I'm like, I barely know them. Like, I barely know who plays for them. Like,
I don't either.
Who the Springboks are?
I don't know. No.
What sports do they play, Juan?
I know them because of rugby.
Rugby? You know what rugby is?
So here's the thing.
Oh my God.
Don't be that impressed. I was a college rugby player. That's the only reason I know that.
Yeah, but Americans don't really know what rugby is.
Yeah. So I got into it in college. To be completely honest with you, I just went out for the team because I wanted to work out and be in shape, and I knew that I was not gonna go to the gym unless I had a reason to go to the gym. So like I just started playing rugby, and it was it ended up being one of the best experiences in my life. I met so many wonderful people, and I fell in love with a sport that I wish I had picked up at a younger age. Yeah,
it's much better than American football, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Man's sport, right?
I think American football sucks personally. But that's like the NFL is like my least favorite sport out of all of them. I think it personally kind of sucks, but that's neither here nor there. Also, and I will say this though, I will say that I wouldn't call rugby a man sport because as somebody who played rugby, I think American football is more dangerous.
Think so?
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I played
tag, did you play tag rugby or did you play full contact?
I played full contact. Like I was on the school's team.
Okay.
No, and the reason why I think American football is manlier is because when you play rugby, we learn how to tackle. Like I actually know how to tackle, so it's all about form and stuff like that. So when I tackle someone, it's generally safe because I know what I'm doing. I went through like training and like my coaches taught me well. Whereas I watch American football players and they fling their bodies around like catapults with no regard for their health or safety, and I sit there and like I cringe at their tackling form.
Yeah.
You know.
I get that, but I also feel like I've seen a lot of rugby injuries.
Sure. No, absolutely. I've seen a lot of them firsthand. I could tell you stories about some of my teammates, and I don't want to call them out in case any of them are listening, but I've seen quite a few of them rush into the hospitals for life-altering injuries.
Yeah. It's pretty intense because you don't have a helmet on.
Yeah. No, and like I get that, like because I didn't play with the helmet. I used to wear the scrum cap sometimes, but I didn't like it because when I was running, I could hear the wind going past my ears. But like even without the helmet, like I just kind of like, because I didn't have a helmet, I never led with my head. I knew better than to do that, you know? I was led with my shoulder. That's what I'm saying. It's like all the little things because you realize how vulnerable you are out there with absolutely no equipment on you. So you kind of really learn how to tackle and really learn how to like protect yourself. Obviously accidents happen, but
yeah,
you know, you're more careful. I think that's just my opinion as someone who played.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's my rugby soapbox. We can follow that.
Yeah, I'm not a rugby fan. I mean, I feel like I should be, but I'm not like a sports fanatic. So I'm just going to be like, yeah, okay.
Also, I will say this too. I feel like a lot of Americans should know rugby because the movie Invictus was a thing. And I remember when that was like came out in like 2009.
Yeah, and I haven't watched it yet.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you read the book at least?
No.
But it's all about Mandela.
Yeah, I mean, that's enough for this podcast. This is like a movie review podcast and we can get into that.
Good pivot. I like that pivot. All right. So why don't we just go ahead and jump into it? Karmen, the stage is yours. Go ahead and tell us your story.
So, I mean, obviously we're all in this pandemic together, but not together, like alone. And I am fortunately in this pandemic with my loving partner. We got engaged just before the pandemic, before we knew the pandemic was a thing. Mm-hmm. Like when World War III was the conversation still, then we got engaged then. And I feel like he proposed because he wanted to move to South Africa sort of thing. I mean, I just felt that way, you know, it was my biased opinion about that. And then when we landed back in South Africa, I mean, in the US, and then the pandemic hit. And so I was working at home alone for most days. And when he would come home, I would just like talk to him nonstop. I would be like, oh my God, how was your day? Tell me everything. Tell me everything. Tell me everything. And like, he was working as like a frontline worker, sort of with like doing stuff for the pandemic. And he would be like, I am so tired. Please do not talk to me. So, but I know the perfect thing for you. We've been talking about getting a dog. Let's get a dog.
Right.
And so I was like, I don't know, because I'll have to be with the dog the whole day and take care of it.
But
like,
how would that solve your talking issue? Like,
right? And so his thing was like, get a dog and you can, it'll keep you company. It'll keep you distracted. You won't feel so alone. And I was like, at the time, it made sense, right? It made like perfect sense. So we went out, went looking for this dog. We tried to get a rescue dog. Mm-hmm. But like, it's so intense to get a rescue dog. They like want to come and do 3 home visits. I was like, damn, it's COVID. I just want to take a dog home. You want to come and see my house first. And then you want to see if it's a safe place. Then you want to interview me, interview my neighbors, interview my landlord, interview the people I work with to see. I mean, do they do this with children? This is what I was thinking when they were giving me these forms.
I would hope so.
I mean, I would hope so too, but you know what? For interest, I actually Googled to see if they're that intense. Sure. And I feel like they just add, like they're on the same level. And I had a problem with that. I was like, you should be more intense with humans than dogs. Look,
I'm going to tell you something. And this next comment, hold on. Hey, Phil, when you edit this, if you think that this will get me canceled, please delete this, what I'm about to say. So, Phil's the audio engineer on this. I feel like Americans care more about dogs than they do about human lives. And I just feel like that's just a general feeling I have here.
I want to, you know what? And Phil, you can edit this too. I feel like this is more of a Caucasian mentality. Because if you come from our countries or where your parents come from, Juan Carlos, they're going to be like, leave the dog outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dog will eat scraps. You know what I mean? What, your dog has depression? What, are you white? Like, that's what they would say to us, So anyway, so we go through this whole thing trying to find this dog, and we're trying to adopt, and we like reaching out to people, and they want to see pictures of us. They want to see pictures of our home. They want to see pictures of us with other dogs. I was like, this is a lot.
Right.
So then, like, this was going on for like maybe 6 months in the pandemic, and then eventually he comes home and he's like, let's just buy a dog. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay. But now I have to be with this puppy and train it. Like, we're not getting a rescue where it's already trained and, it's grown. So, and then we go and look for these puppies, and we find my beautiful pup who I'm so in love with. He's a cockapoo. I know it sounds pretty sexual, the word, but it's a cocker spaniel and a poodle mix, right? Yeah, so we find, and this lady, like, we go to this pet store, and the lady is not like even wanting to sell us the dog. She's like, because I felt like because of the color of our skins, like I don't want to, like, I just felt like she thought that we were just there for comfort, just to like pet the dog, and we were like, no, we want to buy the dog, and they were like, oh, buy a dog.
If you don't mind me asking,
I need to buy a dog. And I was like, yeah, I'm an engineer. Like, I can buy this dog. I could buy 10 dogs. Like, it just triggered that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So we ended up buying.
Let me ask you this.
Charlie.
And I hope this is okay that I ask. What's you don't go into personal details, obviously, but what is your fiance's background? Is he?
He's a creative director, so he does like set design and. Sorry,
I meant racial, because you said that you think there's a racial reason.
He's black.
Got it. Okay. So that's what it was saying. So you felt it was definitely 100% a color thing. I got it.
Yeah, because it was like we tried all the stores in Brooklyn and Manhattan, and they were like we were just like. Not really what we're looking for, overpriced. And then we decided to go upstate New York. Mm-hmm. And we upstate New York, and it's very white, like we were the only people of color, except for the people like working behind the desk.
And for the people listening, just so they can get a sense of what we're really talking about, would you mind sharing your background as well?
So I'm a brown Indian indentured servant, like descendants. Like I have Indian descendants, and so I'm like Indian, Scottish, and Zulu. So if Google me, you'll see I'm brown. I'm not very brown.
I mean, because people are listening to you, and they hear you're South African, they hear the accent, they might be very confused. I was like, we might want to clarify.
Yeah. I mean, like I feel like at times I could present as Arab, and now, like if you're working in this very like white neighborhood, and then this like Arab looking girl with this dark skinned black man walks in to buy a dog, you're gonna be like, really? Buy a dog? And so we bought the dog. We finally we weren't really gonna go away from him, but because of their attitude with us, we were just like, we buy this dog. Like we have money to drop on this dog. We are buying this dog to kind of prove a point. It's like, we're buying this dog. Yeah, we're gonna buy supplies here too. We're gonna buy a dog bed, and we are buying everything at the store. And people were just like, oh wow. And
so her sales tactic worked, huh? Her sales tactic worked. Meanwhile, her marketing strategy is like, okay, any person of color in here, we're gonna prey on their inability, on their ability to like want to spend money to prove a point. We're gonna make them feel a little less than, so they'll buy more. And that is how we're gonna keep the store afloat during a pandemic.
Like our insecurities, it's like our insecurities made us buy the dog,
Right.
And so I love Charlie. I love him to bits, right? And he's really his personality, and they always say this, like dogs like adopt the personality of their owners, and he's just like us. He likes to be left alone, and like he likes to be alone but near us. It's a weird thing. That's like us. We like to be alone but in the same place. You know what I mean? Like we won't talk to each other the whole day. So he's so sweet, and he's super clean. He's like a cat dog. I call him cat dog because he's super clean. Like he doesn't mess or anything. Like he licks himself like a cat. Like it's
right.
It's so weird. So I'm like, cat dog. So he's super sweet. So we get Charlie, and we live in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn is getting gentrified now. So this whole thing, and so we walking him, and I felt like getting the dog is like, now I'm like, wow, I'm doing well for myself, because now my family can see I have a dog that lives in my house. They're like, wow.
Is that a sign of wealth?
Yeah, they were like, wow, your dog has health insurance? Your dog has health insurance, Karmen? Wow, your dog eats organic? Like, because now I got so attached to the dog. My dog eats organic. It has health insurance. It lives with me in my house. He goes to a groomer. He has my dog is taken care of like better than some of my family members. And they tell me that. And you know what? I'm not going to deny it when they tell me. I'm like, yes, it's my baby. It's my son. This is my son now.
Your dog is doing better than some Americans.
Right? I'm like, listen, I came here to America with a struggle, and now I'm living my best Caucasian life. Okay? So here we are.
Claim your Scottish roots, girl. Go ahead.
Right? So we do this. We got him on a schedule, and we walk him around the block. And Brooklyn's. If you've been to New York City,
I'm from New York. Yeah.
The streets aren't clean.
No.
Streets. You find crazy things, and we actually took him for a walk. I walk him every day. And when he comes in, I wipe his little paws off, and. Yeah, no, he wipes his paws. He washes his hands before he eats. Yes, Juan Carlos. I know you think that's hilarious.
That is hilarious. I'm dying over here.
we wipe his little feet, and he's like, he's like a little prince, put it that way. And also he likes to be clean. He's like that type of dog. Like if he has mud on his feet, he just like will wipe it on the carpets until it's clean.
Right.
So I just wipe it for him. And so the one day, like we had this snowstorm, and I decided to take him for a walk. But I thought twice about it. I was like, snowstorm, New York streets, filth on the streets, snow melting. Like I went through the whole thing. I was like, do I take him? Do I not? Do I take him? Do I not? Eventually I was like, okay, Shane, let me take him for his midday walk.
Yeah.
And we're walking.
Okay.
And I regretted it because I took him much later than I normally do. Number one, I took him much later than I normally do.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't want to take him out into the snow. And we're walking, and everything's going cool. Like he poops, I pick up his poop. You know what I mean? Like he pees.
You're one of those.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I pick up my dog's poop. And
thank you.
Yes, and then I complain about my neighbors who don't pick up their poop. I'm like, yeah, house number 52 did not pick up their dog's poop. I saw them. Like I am on 311.
Back up. We're gonna bring this back for a second here. Did you just tell me that you live in a house in Brooklyn?
No, I don't live in a house.
Oh, okay.
But I live in an apartment building, but all around me is houses.
Got
so
you.
Weird, like we're in a weird, like.
No, that's very common in New York City. Like you'll see apartment buildings next to houses. Because I was gonna say, I was like, if you live in a house in Brooklyn, I was like, yo, you're not doing well. You're doing well.
I mean, not to brag, I have a washer and dryer. Like,
boom.
I got a washer and dryer. Like,
for those of you guys who don't live in New York City, if you live in New York City and you have a washer and dryer or a dishwasher, you're like living like the Benjamins. Like you're like the Clintons right now. You're doing real well in life.
All three. I have all three.
Oh my God, she is doing well. You know what? That's for you.
And I got a Caucasian dog. Like he's blonde. He looks really rich. Like someone looks at him and they're like, oh my God, he looks so wealthy. And I'm like, right?
Your dog looks like he says indubitably regularly?
Yes. My dog looks like he uses these like high English words, you know.
Crumpets and tea.
Yes. He's like, oh, I'd like a spot of tea, sir, now. You know what I'm saying? It's just funny because when people look at me and then they look at my dog, and then some people that have been to my home and know that I have a washer, dryer, and dishwasher, they're like, oh my God, you probably like a princess in Africa. Like you come from money. And I'm like, yo, I used to walk like 5 miles to get a bucket of water. You know what I mean? I had one pair of shoes that I had to wear for like, my mom would buy them like 3 sizes bigger. So I had to wear them for like years until I can get another pair of shoes.
So you could grow into them?
Yeah. So I was like, so I studied, became an engineer, and then moved here. And then, you know, the cards just fell in place.
Look, you know what? Don't downplay your success. You know what I mean? Earn it. You are living the American dream. You know, you came here, you got a good job, you know, and things are breaking your way. That's good. Good for you.
Washer, dryer.
Yeah.
I got this blonde dog that I walk around. Like, come on. I mean, he's beautiful. He has an IG account. He's like an influencer now. You know,
is he?
My dog has more followers than me. I was like, damn, you got 500 people following you? Like, why? Like, they DMing him. He gets more DMs than I've ever had. You know, they're like, hey, Charlie, he's so cute. I'm like, okay, slow your roll. Like,
are you jealous of your dog? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm not jealous. I'm like a proud mom, but I'm also like, why? You know what I mean? So we're walking around the block. Back to the
yeah, of course.
So we're walking around the block, and you know, I pick up his poop, and you know, I complain about the neighbors on 311, and I take the pictures so I can upload them onto 311. For those who don't know, 311 is like the New York City, like you complain about people that don't abide by city laws, basically. So
it's 311 is what you call if you have a problem, but it's not important enough to call 911, which is the police.
Yeah. So I just had a problem that people were not picking up after their dog's poops, and I was, you know. So
understandable. I hate that, but go on.
Yeah. So we walking around the block, and I was like, oh, okay, you know, you pooped and peed. Let me just go back home. But I was like, no. The kids love to see Charlie when he walks past the school. Mm-hmm. Let's walk past the school because they love to see Charlie, and maybe the kids will come and greet him. Mm-hmm. We walk past the school, and I never take that route. Like I never walk past the school because there's like always a bunch of kids. But I thought it's cute, you know, there's snow, you know, kids will be out there. And we walk past the school, and the kids come and they all like greet Charlie and whatnot. And then we're walking, and I almost slip on some snow, like snow ice, you know. And while I'm slipping on the snow ice, he freaked out and stepped into human poop.
Oh, that's gross.
He stepped into a whole, like his whole little paw. Now, I told you my dog is like a cat dog, like very cute. Right?
Did he lick it?
No, he's freaking out. So then he started trying to like wipe it on me, and I'm like trying to like not throw up on the side, like on the human poop. So he's like freaking out and trying to bite at me and like trying to wipe it off in the snow.
Oh my God.
Like, oh my God, what's happening? At first I was like, is that peanut butter? What is that? And then I went closer and I was like, ugh, you know, and then he was like wiping it off, biting me. I was like, oh my God, he got poop on him. So I'm like putting his paw into the snow, hoping like the snow will take out most of it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to come into my house, you know?
Mm-hmm.
My apartment. Let me just be clear, because Juan Carlos will be like, oh, you got a house?
Sorry, Miss Dishwasher. I'm so sorry.
And he's freaking out. So the whole time now, like we're walking like one block, this dog is trying to like wipe his paw on me. So now I have poop all over my clothes, right? Mm-hmm. Human poop all over my damn clothes, right? Mm-hmm. And people asked me, like my partner was like, how did you know it was human poop? I was like, because it looked like human poop. Like it was too big to be a dog's poop. Mm-hmm. And it smelt like not like a dog's poop, you know?
Okay, so excuse my ignorance here, but what does a dog's poop smell like that's different than a human poop?
I just feel like it didn't smell, it just didn't give me a dog poop vibe, you know what I mean?
And how many human/dog poops have you smelled to be able to make an informed opinion on this?
You lived in New York City, Juan Carlos. You know the answer to that. You don't need me to tell. I know. I've seen a person take their pants off and shit in the middle of the street.
So have I actually
seen that too?
Yeah, I have. I'm not gonna lie. Just on the subway, people will like just squat down, especially at 2 a.m. Yeah, you're right. You know what? You're right. I'll give you that.
Yeah, so I knew what it was, and so I was like, who in their right mind after a snowstorm? After the snowstorm decides, hey, you know what would be cool? Let me walk out into the snow, take my pants down, and poop on the sidewalk so that my poor Charlie can walk into it. Like, who came up with this diabolical plan? That's what I was trying to figure out, you know?
Yeah.
So I get Charlie into the house and I'm freaking out at him. And he's like, why is she screaming? Because I'm literally like screaming. I'm like, it's the poop, you know? And he's like, why is she doing that? Like, there's poop on me. And he's like barking at me. I throw him in the tub. Like, I don't throw him aggressively, but like I put him in the tub and I run water. And now I have to clean this whole poop thing. And I'm like trying not to throw up. And it was a whole thing.
Why didn't you wipe his feet off in the snow?
I did, but it was so much. Oh. It was a lot. So it was like all the way up his whole...
Oh, I see.
His whole leg was in it.
So for those of you guys who couldn't hear her over me, what she was saying was that his entire like paw all the way up his entire leg was just covered. See, at first I was imagining like, you know, like he just like stepped in it, like so his paw was dirty. But now I'm imagining like he dipped his like whole leg in pudding.
Yeah, that's really what it was, but it was poo pudding.
Or like peanut butter, I guess would be more accurate, right? Because that's the color you said.
Like from a distance, and I have like sinusitis, so I can't smell that clearly. So I was like, from a distance, I was like, oh, is that peanut butter? And then I put his paw up, and I was like, oh, and the whole thing, you know.
So you just taught me a great prank. I'm going to start littering my neighborhood in peanut butter. just globs of peanut butter everywhere.
Please don't. Please, they will, I don't know, you're in the West Coast now, right?
Yeah.
I feel like they'll just send you back to New York City. They would just...
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see. It might be funny. I don't know. It might not be. So with that being said, let's have a little fun because this is the fun part for me. Why don't you go ahead and retell us your story?
I have to retell this like intense story
with the like changes, with the with your revisions. Let's make it revisionary.
So I was thinking about how could I retell the story, but because
Sure.
like I love Charlie so much now, like I've like been so attached to him because I was like, maybe if we didn't get him, then I wouldn't have to have a pandemic dog to worry about to walk around my block.
Right.
Life would be better, you know? But then I was like, but then I wouldn't have Charlie and he wouldn't have his 500 followers. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't know the feeling of someone sliding up into the DM. So it can't be that, right? Then I thought about it and I was like, you know what? The revision would actually be that I should have just trusted my gut. When I sat here and there was that snowstorm and the snow settled,
Yeah.
and I was like, maybe I shouldn't go out. Maybe I should wait. Two things should have happened. I either should have gone out during the snowstorm because I don't think anyone would have taken a poop during the snowstorm. I think they waited for the snows to settle, you know?
I feel like that's the perfect way to hide. You know what I mean? Like it's snowing, no one's outside. That's when if you're going to do it, that's when you do it, right? Because no one's outside.
I feel like you've done this before, Juan Carlos. Like, you know the mind of a pooper, you know? Like, I mean, I know we all poop, but like, you know the mind of pooping in a snowstorm. Have you done this?
No, first off, no, I have never pooped in public. That is not something that I do. However, I am a native New Yorker, and sometimes there's no bathroom, and you just got to find your corners. And I just think like, what's the perfect cover? You know what I mean? Like, not that but I personally have not done this. But I'm just saying.
Mean, you're giving a very like in-depth view to the mind, and I'm like questioning it now. I'm about to unfriend you on Facebook. That's what I'm at. Like, no, but you know what? I was contemplating and what I should have done is not take him out, or taking him out and not walk past the school.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like this was probably a kid that pooped because it was so close to the school.
That makes sense.
And I was like, I should have just not taken him past to the school. So if I had to redo the story, I would have just been like, hey, Charlie, let's go for a walk. Oh, you pooped and peed down the block? Turn around. Let's go home. No one steps in poop. No one freaks out. No one thinks it's peanut butter. We all good. You're not freaking out when I'm throwing you in the bathtub with water and like, what's happening? Another bath, you know?
We're done. Let me ask you this. Hold on. What? So this was the height of the pandemic. So the first thing I want to ask is I'm trying to figure out why you wanted kids petting your dog in the middle of a global pandemic. Like what was your...
It wasn't in the middle. Like I got him in the middle,
you
know, but this happened like now, like a month ago.
Right. Like a month ago when COVID still existed and it's mutating.
COVID is still existing, Juan. It's not Juan Carlos. It's not going anywhere. It still exists. You know.
No, I'm just teasing. I'm just giving you a hard time.
But the kids were back at school, and I know the kids love him. Like you're gonna see a picture of my Charlie. He looks. Just check his IG. It's Charles in Charge. He looks like a teddy bear.
Okay.
He's cute.
I believe it. I mean, I'm excited to look through this. The IG.
I mean, have you ever tried to clean a teddy bear which had like a chocolate like Nutella on it or something? I don't know. I'm trying to.
No, the answer to that is no. I didn't know what Nutella was until I was 25. So there's that.
Okay.
Nutella in my house, it was peanut butter or jelly, not or.
Okay. Have you ever had peanut butter on fur? Or peanut butter on a blanket that you had to try and clean out?
No. I mean, no. Maybe on my shirt.
Know. I'm trying to like give you a visual.
No. I get the visual. I understand why this was gross because I'm just imagining like it caked in like fur and like hard to get out. So I get it. That's why I went with the pudding example because I've spilled pudding like, while eating in my bed. That's why I don't eat in my bed anymore.
Good for you.
Yeah. That just felt weird. I don't know why. Do you feel weird or is it just me?
What? Not eating in your...
No, the whole pudding thing. Okay, so I'm the weird one. Got it.
No. I mean, I'm just like, be more careful. Like my mom would say, just don't have teaspoon lips. I don't get the analogy really, but she would be like, you have like every time you spill something, she like, you got teaspoon lips. And I was like, what does that mean?
Oh.
My mom's analogy is that if you take a teaspoon of something, like if you take a teaspoon of food or liquid, like a teaspoon can only hold so much. So it spills over.
Yeah.
Like you would say, you have teaspoon lips.
That's cute. I like that. I really like that. All right. Well, I'm going to say this. Like, I'm so thankful that you came on the podcast. Like, that was a super adorable story.
Thank you. I mean, we've been wanting to do this for a while, so.
That's true. Just so you guys know, I've been trying to get her to sit down with me for like, what, 4 or 5 months now?
Yeah.
So she's a very busy woman. That's how long
it takes for someone to date me, just so you know. Like, it takes them.
So a lot of persistence. Got it.
Yes, exactly.
No, but she has a lot of things going on. So it was pretty cool that she sat down with us. Before I let you go, though, we have a few traditions on this podcast, and this is just how we like to end it. The first one is we like to pick a charity at the end of every episode to highlight. Usually we pick one that the guest is passionate about. Do you have a charity that you're passionate about?
So I'm passionate about education, especially in South Africa. And I feel like the way forward and just change in the world is through education. And the more people that get educated, the more change can be impacted, through one another. And so a very good friend of mine, it's funny because you brought them up. If I know, a very good friend of mine is the director of this foundation, and it's Trevor Noah's foundation. And it focuses on education and helping learners back in South Africa gain the appropriate skills to really go forward and go into higher education institutions like university. And it focuses on helping train teachers and equipping them with like leadership capacity and tools for scholars, for teaching these schools and youth. So my foundation that, I selected was Trevor Noah's foundation. So if you have a chance, have a look at it. They're doing really great things in rural schools back home in South Africa.
So just out of curiosity, just to be clear, the name is Trevor Noah's foundation?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Trevor Noah Foundation.
Got it. Trevor Noah Foundation. I was like, okay, so what's the name? I get it. The Trevor Noah Foundation.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. And I'm glad that you've picked that foundation because I think education is important. I do personally feel that education gives people opportunities. It is never a guarantee, but it definitely gives people more options is what I'm really trying to say.
And you know what? I'm like a testament to it. Like I'm the first person in my family to go to college. My parents didn't go to college, and they grew up in very poor circumstances, put it that way. And I have a dog now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm doing great. I have a dishwasher, guys. So if you donate to this foundation, more kids will have dishwashers and dogs. You know what I mean? Like,
let's not dissuade people from donating now. So that's great. The second tradition that we have on this podcast, which I didn't tell you about, we have this tradition where we like to end every episode by asking for our guests to share a quick childhood story that puts a smile on their face or just generally like makes them happy when they think about it.
There's so many, and now you really put me on the spot.
The first one, whichever one comes to mind first, to share it.
Okay, so when I was younger, this is actually a story I tell. Like when I do storytelling, I tell the full story. But when I was younger, the short version, I always, because of the circumstances I lived in, I always found ways to make extra money. Like I was a little entrepreneur as a kid. Like I would make popcorn and sell it at school and make jewelry and sell it at school. It's like selling with neighbors. And so when I was younger, I was like about 6, I think, or 7. I watched this TV show and this lady planted a coin, and she planted a coin with a seed, and then the tree had like leaves of money. And I thought that was a real thing. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I remember having a conversation with my mom, asking her, because my mom worked at a bank, and I'd be like, where does money come from? And she's like, money's made out of paper. Money comes from trees, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oh yeah, these totally track. Like these two things track, right?
Yeah.
And so I would come home from school and like water this tree. I planted this money tree, which I thought was legit. And my father like followed me the one day and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing. And he's like, what are you planting? What is this that you planted? And I was like, I can't tell you because you're going to steal my money. And he's like, what do you mean? And then I told him the whole story and he thought it was hilarious. He just laughed in my face. But like at hindsight, he broke my little heart. And now, like when I think about it, I was like, yeah, it is quite funny as an adult. Like if a kid told me that they made a money tree.
That is so cute. Honestly, that is such a cute story. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. Love that.
The money tree?
Yeah, the money tree. I love that. That's cute.
They do sell money trees, but the leaves aren't money. It's just called a money tree, just so you know.
No.
Good luck. It brings good luck into the home.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Well, on that note, do you have any last words for our revisionaries?
Keep revising your stories. No. Don't tell them the truth. No. Don't walk your dog in New York City, especially after a snowstorm. That's my last words to you. And I host a weekly comedy show called Give Me the Mic. So if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter, you'll see that. And yeah, that's about it.
Do you? What's your Instagram and what's your Twitter so people can follow you?
So my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, website, everything's the same. It's Karmen with a K, Karmen, Naidoo, Naidoo. And that's on all platforms.
All right. Beautiful. Well, with that being said, again, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm sure our revisionaries are excited to hear from you. And you were wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks, Juan.
The Revisionary Podcast.
I actually really like that story. So I'm about to make a really big confession to y'all. Please don't come for me. I'm not really a pet person. Like, I think it's cool if you have dogs and cats and all that. Like, bro, I think that's wonderful. I think that's beautiful. I just personally don't want to own any pets. I don't want the responsibility of it. And it's just not for me. You know what I mean? Like, to each his own. I know not to take on pets because they deserve a loving household. They deserve a loving household. And I don't know that I can give them that. So I'm just not going to. But I think that that's such a super adorable story. Like her poor little puppy just stepping in it. That it's both gross and cute at the same time. So I'm glad that I got to hear that. And honestly, I really enjoyed talking to her. She's, how you say, like, I don't know, like we were just vibing, like on just like, it's crazy how I can meet someone one time and I was like, I just vibe with them. I just get along with them so well. So that was really fun for me. So I'm really glad that I got to do that. And again, I'm really glad that you guys listened in. And I thank you every week for supporting the podcast. So I will say this, as I always say, you revisionaries are the best. You guys are the reason I keep doing this. And as always, thank you for listening.
This is the Revisionary